and welcome to a seemingly effortless episode of We Only Look Thin. I am Katherine Weigel, and I've lost, I'm going to be honest, about 147 pounds. And with me today is person of interest.
Donald Weigel. You really threw me off. Person of interest.
You are a person of interest.
I suppose it makes me seem like I'm a suspect in a crime, though.
No, but you're an interesting person.
The only crime is that I've stolen your heart?
Yes, and lost 100 pounds.
I lost about 100 pounds.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Depends on what day I step on the scale.
I don't know.
If I'm being honest, I feel like you've been honest now. You've been like 147 pounds, like... At one point, I had lost like 104 pounds, and then like I go up and down the scale in like a 5-pound range. And
I know.
So I don't really I don't know exactly. So I just say about 100 pounds.
Well, I feel like I've been holding on. It's almost like your driver's license weight.
Yeah.
You just sort of hold on to it, and that's the number you pretend you are. So
Right.
me saying I've lost 150 pounds makes me think I've lost 150 pounds, which I did, but I've kind of found 3 of them.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah.
Oh, boy.
So I'm just being honest. It's
Yeah.
it's effortless to gain weight, isn't it?
And as we've said over and over again, there is no finish line. Like, at one point, you would have killed to be the weight you are right
yeah.
now. You might literally have committed murder, and then you'd be a
Person
person
of
of interest. Yeah. And now it's like, you're 3 pounds up, and it's like, oh boy,
Yeah.
things are out of control. So
No,
it's all relative.
It's fine. So, hi, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
You're a little stressed out, huh?
Yeah, I'm a little stressed out. I feel like ridiculous, but I'm in the middle of a fantasy football crisis, which I know like many people are going to roll their eyes.
Must be
Like, how does one
nice.
have a fantasy football crisis? But I've been working on myself, and I feel like I'm making these like fantastic strides about not being angry about things and allowing, myself to work on being happier and more even keeled. And then like something ridiculous comes along, like a dispute in a fantasy football league. And I cannot get over it. I can't get over it right now. And I feel like, and then I put myself into this sort of like shame spiral of like, how is it possible that I'm this distraught over fantasy football when people have real problems out there?
He's weight woke, but not woke at all when it comes to fantasy football.
Yeah, like I seriously, I spend my day at work, like I work with a lot of people, and somebody will say, "Oh God, I'm just so stupid," or "I just can't do this," and I'm constantly saying things like, "You are capable of very hard things. You can do this. You are obviously not stupid. You've just made a single mistake, and you will fix it. And I know you will fix it." And I'm seriously like become kind of an office cheerleader in a lot of ways, which is weird for me. And then I have this fantasy football thing happen, and
it's over.
Cannot get myself out of the funk I'm in.
I feel like I have just been having to tiptoe around him a bit this morning. But after reading Brene Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection, she talks about letting people feel their feelings and not feel shame about it. And it's really hard as a fixer to not want to make, 1, distract him. 2, tell him it's not a big deal. Tell him that there are starving people in Africa.
None of those things are helping. I'm telling myself all those things also.
But I think it just speaks to, like, we want to diminish someone else's feelings. And Donald feels passionately about fantasy football. And I recognize... I recognize that it impacts him, and it's not my job to fix it or change it, but just to let him be in the space in which he needs to feel the rage. And I wasn't sure we were going to be able to podcast because he was really mad about it. So I'm happy that he showed up.
And then you brought it up.
Well, no, but I, yesterday, I actually listened to our secret eating episode, episode 16. Audio quality isn't all that great.
Yeah,
but
sadly, that was in the early days when we still made we made a very big audio mistake on that one. I think we ended up recording directly from the laptop microphone instead of our good
fine.
microphone.
You people got your money's worth.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry I called you people. That was kind of aggressive.
Yeah, that was really trying to drive listeners away.
No, but like I had a really great week, and I stayed in my calorie deficit, and I got in all my activity, and it was going great. And then yesterday I had a couple of very stressful things happen, and I let it derail me. I had sort of a personal issue, my own sort of fantasy football thing, including my the tinting of the windows in my car. There, I said it.
Yeah.
I had my own stress.
And some work stuff.
And I had a work thing that I decided to catastrophize. Shame on me.
Yeah, see, like, and there's me thinking, like, you actually had a couple of real problems happen, and I'm absolutely distraught. I'm actually feeling better as we're talking about it.
See, that's why I brought it up.
I'm feeling
because I
like
knew you'd feel better.
distraught over fantasy football.
But I think there's no arbiter of, like, who gets to feel bad about something and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, you feel the way you feel, and I am very proud of you for trying to process it and recognizing that, like, you're working on yourself. We're not perfect people. We've talked about it. But it's hard to not go like, oh, well, you're mad about that. Like, you didn't have blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not fair to judge someone based on how their feelings are. I think you're working on yourself. I'm working on myself.
Yes.
But I let my yesterday spiral out of control. You can do secret eating, not in secret when no one is around. Did you know that? That's not something we brought up on the secret eating episode.
Yeah, what makes it secret eating? If you're eating by yourself and no one's around to see it, is it secret eating, or does a tree still fall in the forest and make a sound?
I think it's if someone was watching you, would you still do it?
Right.
Is the kind of thing like, oh, I'm eating a salad. Like, anybody, come at me, bro. Like, you can totally watch me.
Come at me, bro.
I don't know. And so what the kids say.
You can live tweet this if you would like. I am eating a salad.
No, but it's what you wouldn't want someone else to see you doing.
Yeah.
That is the tough part. And there are times when I wonder if I self-sabotage just to have something to talk about on this podcast. But sometimes I just don't care and I just want to eat bad food. So we can talk about that on another episode.
Yeah.
That might be part of why I'm down 147 pounds, give or take. So I hope this is inspiring you, because it is inspiring me to stay back on track. It's actually morning. It's not our eating window time, and I already want to eat because yesterday I ate so much. So I'm going to feel the feelings and not eat the food and podcast for you fine listeners. Sorry for what I said before.
I have some good news for listeners out there, though.
Oh.
We're almost 8 minutes into the podcast, and we haven't even started it yet.
Yay!
So everything you've already heard so far, that's bonus content.
Bonus.
Think of it as bonus content, as if you contributed to our Patreon
baker's
or something.
Dozen. We don't have a Patreon.
We don't have it, but just pretend like you did, and you got 8 minutes of bonus content.
Oh, how lovely for our listeners.
So welcome to We Only Look Thin, everybody.
Welcome, bienvenue.
We are going to talk about something we're calling weight lossmosis today.
Weight lossmosis. You know, I love wordplay, and today is no different, except we're going to talk about something different, weight lossmosis. But first, we're going to start with a tip of the week.
Tao!
Tao!
And at the end, we have a product of the week.
Pow.
Pow, everybody.
Pow, everyone. Toot le monde. So we'll start out with the tip of the week, which
Tip of the week to you, darling.
Tip of the week to you. Donald was not convinced that this tip had anything to do with weight loss.
No, that was the product of the week. I don't have any.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, never mind. Okay.
I'm down with the tip of the week.
Okay, so the product of the week. Well, we'll save that for later. But basically, everything relates to weight loss. So really, we can talk about whatever we want.
It's true. It's our podcast.
Getting your money's worth. So the tip of the week. Speaking of getting your money's worth, see, I did it.
Yeah,
That's
you
awesome.
did it. You
I
brought
stuck
it
the
back
landing.
around. Nice segue.
Is instead of blowing all your money on janky fast food, what if you saved up that money for a fancy dinner out somewhere?
Yeah,
Ooh.
there you go.
So, Yanni Friedhoff, in his book, The Diet Fix, talks about changing the way you spend your money. And specifically, he was talking about buying alcohol or buying wine. And instead of buying 3 or 4 low-quality bottles of wine for pumping up the alcohol volume, he suggests saving up that money, buying 1 very nice bottle of wine and savoring that instead of going for lots of alcohol. So I have changed this into, instead of getting fast food, getting your your breakfast tornadoes, which is a thing, or
Yeah.
going to get fast food on the way home from work. What if you just tucked that money aside and you tell yourself like, oh, I can't afford blank. Like, well, maybe you can't afford a very nice dinner because you're spending $8 a day eating fast food.
Yeah.
Like we actually got our daughter Kentucky Fried Chicken recently. And we were out and I was like, okay, I'll just get it for whatever. And we ordered like one chicken strip something or other. And it was like $16. I was like, pardon me? How much?
This was supposed to be
Cheap fast
inexpensive.
Food.
Yeah.
But it's been so long since I bought that. I was like, well, I'm sorry. Did you dip it in gold also? Like, what just happened?
We were kind of at a tourist attraction though, so that might have had something to do with it.
It might have, but I didn't know it was that much money. Like, you might as well get actual food for that. So we bought her the food. She didn't finish it because she's a moderator. Must be nice. But think about saving money for something much nicer than you would generally tell yourself you can afford. Instead of buying a bunch of low quality things, buy one super high quality thing.
Well, and another way to look at it too is, I would many times in my life, I would, just eat like 100-calorie pack of something that I didn't really love.
Like me yesterday.
And then I would have another 100-calorie pack
Like
and
me
another
yesterday.
one. And before I knew it, I would have, 300, 400, 500 calories of these 100-calorie packs that I didn't really love. And I could have just had one like really good thing that was 400 calories.
Well, and we talked about too on the Penny Wise Pound Foolish episode, like I identify as somebody who like eats at low end, middle range chain restaurants. Like you're like, oh, like I've never been to a fancy, steakhouse. I can't afford that. But it's because we identify as people who enjoy lower quality fast food. And I'm not saying that about us specifically, but like if you're used to spending foolishly, like $8, you don't realize that at the end you could have just bought a really, taking yourself out to a really nice meal of very high quality food for $200, because it really does add up to that. And a lot of times we fill ourselves with low quality foods, quick foods, when really we could savor it and indulge in something more gooder.
More gooder. Yes, very well said.
I feel like people might think that we're fancy most of the time because we use long words like weight LossMosis. I don't know. I said something.
I don't think we've ever been accused of being fancy.
I think I was accused at one point of being fancy. And so I use more gooder to bring us down a notch. So this is a more gooder episode of We Only
Well,
Look
thank you for bringing us down
Thanks.
a notch.
So
I appreciate it.
So I think that rounds up the tip of the week.
Tip of the week to you.
Tip of the week to you.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
So now we're going to get kind of sciencey.
Boop-a-boop-a. See, we're fancy.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. So I was going to look up a scientific definition of osmosis.
I did.
And I did. Oh, you got one?
Uh-huh.
I was going to write it down, and I got so bored even reading the definition of it that I was just like, no one wants to hear that.
I love sciencey stuff. I paid little attention, but just enough to pass on some knowledge to our fine listeners.
So do you want to define osmosis?
I do.
I'm going to take a nap over here while you do it.
Okay. Well, there's lots of long definitions, but I'll go with the short one. It's the process of absorption or diffusion. And it's also the Webster's Dictionary defines it as
every terrible graduation speech starts with
effortless, often unconscious assimilation. Like the Borg Collective.
Oh, you threw like a little Star Trek in there and you got me interested.
Webster's did not include the Borg Collective into that. But
just as I was nodding off during the definition, you threw some Star Trek in there and I perked right back up.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
But I think it's I know when I was in school, it was like, oh, learning by osmosis. Like, ha, ha, ha. I'm just going to keep this book next to me and I'm going to learn long division. Bah, ha, ha.
Yeah, I used to make that joke all the time. Like, if you just slept with the book under your pillow, maybe it would, sink in. And,
am I right? I know that's, such a dad joke, but it's so true. And we often think, and just tying this into weight loss, because LossMosis. See how it goes?
As we've said before, everything ties into weight loss.
Everything ties into weight loss. So we have talked many times before about the fallacy of buying the products and doing, feeling like you're doing the work when really you're not doing any work at all. And that's sort of what Weight LossMosis is about. We think that just by listening to the podcast, joining the club, joining the gym, joining the program, that suddenly it's just magically by osmosis, we are going to lose weight.
Now, don't get us wrong.
Don't.
Listening to our podcast is definitely a crucial part of the entire
critical
process.
And sharing it with 7 other people
it
within
has been
the week.
Clinically proven that you cannot lose weight if you do not listen to this podcast.
Science.
Yeah, that is science. However, listening alone is not going to do it. You have to actually put into practice the things that we talk about and actually start practicing losing weight instead of just thinking about losing weight or trying to find the best plan.
Well, and I know people who have been on this journey venture as long as I have, who are up on the scale from where they were 3 years ago. And that was me for many years.
Oh my goodness, that was me for most of my life.
It is not a judgment. It's just, I recognize that in myself and I've said it before, but I joined Weight Watchers 20 times and I thought just by joining that it would sort of magically happen. I mean, we had the episode, the Motivation Bus, where we talk about sort of waiting for that energy to hit us, that lightning bolt to strike us, to get us into motion. So we join a group, we join the gym, we buy a book, and we think just by being there, we feel that buzz, like we've taken action.
Yeah.
I bought the program, I spent the money. We get all the stuff, we read all the materials, and it's like the first day of school. Like when I started, I remember one year starting school and having a teacher say, everybody today is starting with an A. And you feel like, oh my gosh, I've got an A. Like I've got this down. Yeah,
they say it like in baseball season on the first day, like everybody starts the season in first place, like on the first day of baseball season. And like every team has infinite possibilities of what could come, even though you know that there are a lot of teams that just are going to be terrible throughout the season.
Right. So you get all of the information, you get the products, you buy the mat, and you buy the book, and you buy the pen, and you buy the fresh notebook and the journal. But then you wait for the perfect time to start.
Yeah.
And that perfect, like, well, you know what? I've got a business thing tomorrow. So you know what? I'm going to start on Monday. Or, oh, you know what? We have a family reunion next weekend. So I'll just start right after that. And it's this mirage in front of us of this perfect time to start the program.
Yeah. Or you join a gym and you feel like by paying that money every month that you're doing something. You get really excited about the idea of going into the gym, but then you don't actually make a plan to really go.
Well, and Donald also talked about it too. He's got some things written down, but it's like we gather more information. So you join the gym, but you don't know how to use the machines. So you delay going to the gym because you want to wait for the perfect time to find out how to use the elliptical to its optimum. Like, well, if I do it for 20 minutes, will it matter? Maybe I should do it for 45. I don't know. I'm going to do some interweb research to figure out what the perfect amount of time is to do the elliptical.
Yeah, we've talked about before the fantastic book by James Clear called Atomic Habits, which we actually both read after we had already lost the weight. But it really ties in. And he talks about in his book about how motion, we often confuse motion for action. And he describes motion as you're doing something, you're involved in activity, but you're not actually practicing anything. You're not actually putting ideas into place. You're not actually taking action. You're just kind of preparing for it. And motion happens in a circle. You're just spinning around in place, whereas action happens in a straight line.
Right.
And it's kind of like the idea of, I'd like to exercise, but I don't want to look stupid at the gym. So instead, I'll go talk to a trainer about what their rates are. And it feels like you're doing something by talking to a trainer about rates. And so you feel better about it. But what you're not doing is actually exercising. You're not taking a walk. You're not lifting a weight. You're not doing yoga. Like, you're not actually doing anything.
Right. And I've seen other people too, and I've said it before, I have not followed any recipes in 4 years. I don't, like, a recipe wasn't why I got to 300 pounds. And if you join Weight Watchers or you start calorie counting and go like, oh gosh, well, I need to look up some good recipes. Like, what I'm missing is a recipe. And the recipe isn't the issue. It's the portion and, you know, and the movement that is the issue. But we confuse ourselves with research as action, as though going to the Weight Watcher meeting, getting the materials, looking at YouTube channels, getting recipes, buying books, getting all of this, you know, stuff around us is going to help us lose weight. And it's part of actually procrastination. Like, we think that just once we get the perfect amount of information, then we'll start. Then it will be the right day. Then it will be the right season. So we see other people making progress while we're still gathering information, and we feel like we're falling behind. Suddenly we're 2 weeks into school and our A has gone down to a B and someone else still has an A average. And we feel like there is a finite amount of success to be had. And so we get discouraged. We fall into a pattern of comparison. We do more research to figure out like, okay, well, maybe I just didn't find the right program, or maybe I didn't find the right thing, or we join another program to see if maybe that's the thing that was missing. And we procrastinate more because we're going to start right after the kids start school. We're going to start after the big business meeting. We're going to start after the house is clean. And it keeps being that mirage where we're not taking action, but we're gathering information. And we want to avoid failure. We think like once we gather enough information, we can't fail. And where we're actually failing is by not taking action.
Yeah, I'll quote directly from James Clear. He says, motion allows us to feel like we're making progress without running the risk of failure. The biggest reason why you slip into motion rather than taking action is that you want to delay failure. And you know, if you don't actually try something, then you can't fail at it. It's just this, you know, it's an obvious statement, but we make ourselves feel as if we're trying something when in fact we're just planning to do something.
Right. I mean, and I have a friend who I don't think listens to this podcast, so it's not a big deal, but she's super duper crazy smart, like smarter than I have ever been, uses actual words that she knows instead of just looking them up in the dictionary.
Yeah.
But she had a pattern of going for more education and more education and more education and never actually doing anything with the education, just sort of gathering more ideas and ideas and ideas instead of joining the workforce. And it was a form of procrastination, that over-education. And I am not besmirching people with PhDs. Good for you if you did it. But it's that, like, you don't want to jump in the water. You just want to plan to swim. You buy the goggles, you buy the bathing suit, you watch videos on the internet of how to have perfect form. But if you do not get in the water, you are not going to be Michael Phelps.
Yeah, and so one thing to do is actually set a schedule for your actions. You know, make a rule that you will not break. I am going to exercise every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And you don't have to think about it. You don't have to make a plan to do it. You just do it on those 3 days and you get it done. Or I am going to take a walk every day at lunchtime. Like, I'm going to do that. Or I'm going to prep my Monday meals. I'm going to prep every week. And you make that a habit. And you make it something that you just do automatically until you can, you know, slowly expand those habits.
Well, and James Clear, we're going to talk about James a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
But he talks about the habit must be established before it can be improved. And we often think like, well, I've got the book and I've read the thing and I joined the thing and nothing's happening. And it's not happening because you're not actually putting the habits in place to make it happen. He also says many people think that they lack motivation when what they really lack is clarity. Some people spend their entire lives waiting for the time to be right to make the improvement. And it's the actual act of doing that makes progress, not the thinking about it.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy at work recently who, we were talking about various life goals and things, and he's like, yeah, I've got this guitar that I've had, and someday I am going to play that guitar. And it's kind of like, I actually said to him, I said, you can't just say someday I'm going to play the guitar. You actually have to say to yourself, you know what? He said it needs to be strung. And I was like, well, is the barrier that you need to take it somewhere or that you want to do it yourself? And he's like, I really want to do it myself. And I'm like, well, then you need to say to yourself, this Sunday, I am going to watch a YouTube video about stringing a guitar. Like, he even had the strings and the guitar, and, it was just sitting there, and I bet it's still going to be sitting there Monday unstrung. But I said, you have to say to yourself, this Sunday, I'm going to watch a YouTube video about stringing guitar, and then I'm going to actually string the guitar. Like, make a plan and do it.
Is a guitar a metaphor for weight loss?
Yes.
Oh, what? Well, this ties perfectly into what James Clear says. I'm going to tell you what he says right now. He said, when your dreams are vague, it's easy.
I can't wait to hear about it.
When your dreams are vague, it's easy to rationalize little exceptions all day long and never get around to the specific things you need to do to succeed. And it's that action plan. Like, you can gather the information, but unless it's first thing Monday morning, 8 a.m., I am putting on my shoes. I am going to the gym. I am just going to walk on the treadmill because I know how to do that. And I'm not going to overthink the perfect amount of time to do it. I'm just going to start. And it's about, he talks about designing your world instead of just consuming it. And it's that action that we take, the small sustainable habits. We talk about it all the time. It's super boring. But unless you actually do the thing, the osmosis of being at the gym, just standing at the gym, isn't getting the job done.
Yeah, and I think that we're very good at setting deadlines for ourselves to finish things. We say, I need to lose 50 pounds by the time I'm 30. I need to lose, I need to do this much exercise by this date, or I have a wedding coming and I need to lose 10 pounds by then. But we're not very good at setting deadlines to actually start doing something. And so one of the things that James Clear suggests and that I suggest is set yourself a deadline to actually start something. Don't set a deadline to finish it, but give yourself, I am going to this Sunday, this Saturday, tomorrow, like the sooner the better, I'm going to set a deadline for myself to actually start doing something and start doing it every day or every other day, whatever it is that you can handle, but set a deadline and actually do it.
Well, and I think too, there is like that perfect moment to jump in the arena to make it happen. We keep thinking that our magical future selves are going to be ready, are going to be the person that gets the job done. Like there's some lightning bolt that's going to strike them, your future self. When in fact, it's like in Harry Potter when he finally gets the Patronus.
Yeah.
But he thinks it's his, well, anyway, spoiler alert. If you haven't read Harry Potter, too bad for you.
Yeah.
But
it's been out a while now.
Yeah, it's been out a while. But there's a point at which he thinks he's being saved by someone. And it's actually sort of this time twist thing. It turns out it was himself who saved himself. And only by knowing it was himself did he realize the power was in him all along.
Yes, the power was in you all along, listener.
Yeah,
that's what we're getting
your future self released the Patronus. But it's the doing the habit, the boring, unsexy habit that gets the job done. When I started losing weight in 2016, I didn't think I was going to be the me I am now. I just knew, you know what? I don't know what the future holds, but right now I'm going to track my calories.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to start today. It's going to suck. It's not going to feel comfortable. It's not like it's magically going to happen overnight, but I just need to take a step. And then tomorrow I need to take the step. And tomorrow I need to take the step. And I didn't think, like, all I wanted to do was fit into my pants. That was what my goal was. And I said, I'm just going to give it another week.
You really are fancy. You want to fit in your pants.
Oh, I'm not Winnie the Pooh walking around without any pants on.
Whoa.
Yeah. But it's just taking that small action, that imperfect action. I didn't know I was going to be successful. I just knew I had to do something. And I see people who think that joining the group or joining a second group or buying another book or buying another recipe book, like gathering all of this information is going to lead to weight loss. And I see the discouragement that happens over time when they see they're not making progress. And it's because they're not actually taking an action. Buying a book is just gathering information. Paying for the club is just gathering information. There is no osmosis. There is no effortless, unconscious assimilation that is going to happen that is magically going to help you lose weight. Sure, there are those random people that you hear about who are like, you know what? I just cut out adding salt to my food and I'm down 40 pounds. And we feel like we're broken if this one weird person says that they changed one weird thing and it didn't happen for you. Like, it took me consistent effort over months and months and months to see the progress that I've gotten. And I didn't wait for that perfect plan, the perfect day, the perfect anything. I was just sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And there is no osmosis that is going to happen. We talk about surrounding yourself with positive messages, positive people, positive, Instagram feeds.
Oh, and all of those things definitely help.
It matters. It totally matters. But just being at the library doesn't mean you're reading. Being, like having feet doesn't mean you're walking.
Yeah, you don't go to the library and suddenly absorb all of the knowledge. You actually have to take a book off the shelf and read it.
Well, and too, I remember when The Matrix came out, and they they hook a cable.
Oh man, that's my dream.
They hook a cable up to Neo, and he's like, I can do karate.
Suddenly he can pilot a helicopter. Yeah,
but I think things like that magical thinking of like, man, must be nice to be Neo with a cable strapped to your head so you can figure out how to speak Taiwanese. Like, that's not what life is. And we keep thinking that just gathering the information and gathering the content will make the action happen. And it turns out it's really boring, consistent habits that you actually implement and do day after day that make the scale move.
Yeah, I found a good quote online from a gentleman named John Wooden. He says, never mistake activity for achievement. And so you can do all kinds of things. You can do all kinds of preparation, but actually getting something done is the goal. And making the experience of the journey itself the goal is really important. You can say to yourself, I want to lose 100 pounds, but if all you do is plan to do it instead of actually figure out how to do it, I didn't start out with the perfect plan. I didn't even finish with the perfect plan. But what I've realized is important is actually trying things and figuring out what works, doing things and treating it like a science experiment that we've talked about all the time, figuring out what works for you, what doesn't for you. And instead of trying to plan what might be the best thing, actually try doing these things and refine what works. And I'm constantly refining what works, even after losing the 100 pounds, because I plan on maintaining this weight loss for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and the challenges change over time, too. I mean, depending on the season of your life, something might be effortless, or become effortless, and then it becomes difficult again. Like when I couldn't walk, I had to sort of reinvent myself and figure out what I was capable of. Because when it's easy, it's easy. Like,
yeah.
Oh, well, when life is good and easy and everything's going your way, then it's easy to make a good choice. But when things get tough, we see it as a failure in ourselves instead of realizing that we need to adapt.
Were we podcasters 2 years ago? No. I mean, were we fantastic at it straight out of the gate? Yes,
yeah.
Actually. Yes, we were. But you might not be. You might need more practice than we did. No, I feel like we've gotten better at it as we've gone. There's lots of stumbling blocks, like the aforementioned, terrible sound issue that happened in that early episode. We had many such issues back in the day, and we still stumble. We still need to edit things. We still, cough during the show and things like that. But it's all about practice. it has become much easier as we've gone along because we've practiced and practiced. We've done 86 episodes of this, so we've done this a lot of times now, and we're going to keep trying to get better. But we didn't start great right out of the gate. Well, maybe we did.
Well, and I think something else James Clear talked about, just stepping back, is the Diderot effect, which is
whoa, I don't know that one.
The spiral of consumption that leads to additional purchases, where you keep sort of expanding, like, okay, well, I heard about this book, I heard about this recipe, I heard about this podcast, I heard about this other program. Oh, hey, what's a 17-day diet? Oh, what's a 30-day fix? What's a this? And it's expecting some magic plan to be the panacea to fix all of your problems. And as Donald said, and we still see it, people going, oh my gosh, I'm getting married in 6 months, I need to lose 50 pounds. Like, what does a person who loses 50 pounds do? They go on a walk every day before dinner. They eat on smaller plates.
Yeah.
They stop eating sugary, Starbucks beverages every day.
They prep their meals. They don't eat out as often, like et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Instead of going out for fast food every day, they wait and have one really great meal a month. Like, there are so many habits that we can put in place to set ourselves up for success. And it's not just being around other successful people that is going to make a difference. It's not just buying all of the materials. It's not joining the group that's going to make the action happen. It's the actual doing. And I said it before earlier, you join the group and you see other people making progress and you become resentful because you are not making progress, when really the issue is that you're not taking the actions necessary to see those achievements. And it can feel depressing to see other people succeed. Like, you can just be like, oh gosh, it must be nice. Like, oh, they've got it easy. They're just doing the thing. They're just taking the action.
They're just actually doing it. Another couple things from James Clear. He says, practice is learning, but learning is not practice.
Oh.
And so studying something is not the same as actually doing it. Practice focuses your energy on the process. It makes you actually, like, you can learn while you're practicing. You can figure out that tracking calories doesn't work for you, or the reverse, which is my case, not tracking calories doesn't work. I have to track, or I cannot maintain my weight loss. That is just something that I have learned over time. And making progress, going back to what Catherine says, Thomas Sterner in The Practicing Mind says, progress is the natural result of staying focused on the process of doing anything. And so that repetition, that actually staying focused on doing something, is really how you achieve your goal and you make progress.
Well, and I don't know if we've mentioned it on this podcast yet. We talk so much, I don't even know what we're talking about. But planning is a form of procrastination. And we're avoiding the doing because we're afraid of failing. And if you never start, you never fail. And it is so dangerous to avoid actually taking action because you're afraid of failure.
It's sort of like you constantly researching a vacation destination and never actually purchasing a ticket to go anywhere. And, never actually taking that step of making the vacation a reality. You're just researching somewhere to go.
Well, and it can be confusing too. The more information you gather, the less confident you can be sometimes too of the right action to take. I mean, I'm in groups where people go, well, how many calories should I get a day? And some people say you should get 800 calories a day. Some people say you should get 2,500 calories a day. Some people say 16. And we wait for that perfect answer, or we gather the content and say, well, most people say I should get this, or most people say I should get that, or some people say I should be doing keto, or some people say I should be cutting out anything white. And we wait for this perfect answer to drop in our laps before we take the action. When in reality, we can think to ourselves, and we did a 3-part series on getting started.
We sure did.
But try something. See how it goes. Move forward from that choice. Gather the information. Take your measurements. Count the calories. Did it work? Did it not work? If it didn't work, What are you ready to change? Like, it's very simple, and we complicate it. And maybe we've complicated this entire episode. I could have just said...
The perfect answer to how many calories you should get is 1,743.
Oh, I thought we were going to, like, beep it out and then be like...
No, it's 1,743. That is the final answer. No, it's not,
That actually might be my final answer. But someone this morning talked about... their calorie range not working for them anymore and having to deal with the notion that perhaps they need to cut their calories more because their body has adjusted to it.
Yeah, I have sadly had to do that like since I've lost the weight. Like I had to go a little bit lower to maintain my weight, and it's really not fun.
No, but we identify as a person who can lose weight at 2,000 calories a day. And I actually did a not an experiment, because I track my calories and I track my weight, but it turns out I was eating for a week at 2,000 calories a day. I maintained my weight. Turns out I maintained my weight at 2,000 calories a day, and I can see it as a bummer or just a fact of how much I'm moving and how much I'm consuming, and that's the end result. And it's not a...
Yeah, and you used to lose weight at that amount.
I used to lose weight at that amount. So going like, okay, you know what? If I don't eat 1,743 calories a day, I'm not going to lose. So action is my choice. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to listen to this podcast. You don't need to join the clubs. You don't need to spend the money. You don't need to buy the books. But that is an active decision to actually decide that you're going to make a change, that you're going to start tracking your calories, that you're going to take time to invest in the experiment, and that you're going to be okay with failure over and over and over again until you refine it and figure out what works for you. And we can stand on the sidelines and be jealous of other people who are professional football players or professional fantasy football enthusiasts.
Oh boy, you had to bring it up again.
It's football season,
I had forgotten all about it.
Sorry. But we can stand on the sidelines, or we can be active participants in our life. We can take a passive voice. I want to lose weight. Other people are getting it done. Or we can take action. What am I willing to do today to move the needle? And that's not always going to be consistent. What you're willing to do one day might not be what you're willing to do the next day. But it's action over time that yields results.
And I think that is a great way to wrap it up. Except for the part where you said they don't have to listen to this podcast, because they do. And I think that brings us to our product of the week. Pow, everybody.
So this was the thing, because I got confused. This was the thing.
Yeah,
Donald's
she
like,
really
what does this have
had to
do
convince
with...
me that this had something to do with weight loss.
And
but I'm on board now.
I've said everything has to do with weight loss.
No.
And that's what I'm sticking to.
Yeah, I get it.
And so the product of the week is TSA PreCheck.
TSA PreCheck, but what does that have to do with weight loss?
Everything. So this applies to our members or listeners in the United States of America. I don't know what they do in other countries.
Oh, yeah.
So sorry about that.
It doesn't work for international travel.
No, but there is something else, an international thing that people can do, but that's not what this product of the week is. You'll have to listen to another episode. So TSA PreCheck. We signed up for it. You have to go into a TSA PreCheck office.
Yeah.
You have to give them some money. You have to let them do your fingerprint and take a picture of you.
And it's funny. It's one of those things that, tying back to the whole episode that we were just talking about, it's one of those things that I put off because I thought it was really hard and really complicated. And I know what you just said made it sound like it, but it seriously was about 5 minutes of applying online, and then we had to go to an office, and it took another 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, we thought we were going to be waterboarded or something, and it ended up they were just okay, picture, fingerprint, bye.
Yeah, it was, the money was actually the hardest part of it, but it wasn't that much.
Yeah, it was $85.
$85, yeah.
But it lasts for 5 years.
And then, holy cow, when we took our vacation to Hawaii, the TSA PreCheck line was amazing.
Yeah, and it saves time. And the whole, how does this tie into weight loss or your weight loss adventure? Making your life easier, saving time, saving stress. I'm an emotional eater. I find many reasons to eat, and being stressed out at the TSA line is just another thing that we can avoid.
And I get triggered at airports too for food. Like I just have this Pavlovian desire, when I'm going to an airport to stock up on junk food because I have this deep-rooted panic that I'm going to starve on the plane. And so I want to eat all of this terrible food. So eliminating the stress and the barrier of the security line, or at least greatly reducing it, really goes a long way towards being level and not increasing my chances of going crazy at the fast food that's everywhere at the airport.
Yeah, it's actually funny. When I first got the TSA pre-check, I was at the Las Vegas airport and I was like, I'm just going to blow through the line. It's going to be easy. But you know how they have like the zigzag line for the long one? I was like, oh man, I'm not going to get as many steps if I do the TSA pre-check. That's a loophole. But being able to breeze through the line, reduce stress, save time, get to the gate earlier, it all matters. Like everything ties back to weight loss and weight maintenance. And it was a great $85 investment. Our daughter has actually been able to get TSA
because we're
also because
pre-checked, like she gets it automatically, or at least that's the way it seems so far.
Yeah, and so it just reduces stress. And so that's our product of the week, TSA pre-check.
Pow, everybody! Product of the week.
Product of the week to you.
If you have enjoyed our particular brand of shenanigans, you can get more by going to weonlylookthin.com. And we run, and I'm being generous to myself by saying we, it is almost entirely Catherine runs an online support group for women called We Only Look Thin Place, or Wolt Place for short. And it is a place, I think there's just a fantastic group of women there, all supporting each other, learning from each other. And, it really helps to find other people who are going through the same things as you and ask them for advice, get emotional support, and really be able to call upon them when you need that sort of advice or support. And it feels really good to help other people with advice and support too.
It really does. And it is honestly a place where people are talking about things that don't seem to matter in the weight loss world. And one member actually said that she was in another group where she brought up something that was going on. And the group said, oh, that's not fitness related, so you can't post about that here. And everything is weight loss and fitness related. As
we've just proven with TSA pre-check.
Family crises, divorces, kids going off to college, like death, life, everything. It all ties in to how we manage our food and our emotions and our physical wellness. And Wolt Place, WOLT Place, it's a great support community. Everyone is so giving and so honest and so vulnerable. And I am just super proud of the community that we've made. That being said, being part of a group doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose weight. It is not a weight loss plan.
It's true.
It is a support plan. And taking that action, just to put the final low-calorie cherry on top of this episode, taking action matters. Getting support matters. Support is a component of your weight loss journey. And we are offering support, fellowship, friendship, and
fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And it's for ladies.
It is for ladies.
That sounded really sketchy.
I know. I couldn't help it. I was thinking of the ladies' man from Saturday Night Live, taking it back.
So join us at Wolt Place. It's awesome.
And you can find more information. Go to weonlylookthin.com, and there's a link towards the top of the page. Join our support group. There's information about pricing, and we go into more detail about what we have there.
Yeah, and if you just want to check us out, you can go over to Instagram at We Only Look Thin,
or Twitter at We Only Look Thin. You can also find our Facebook page at We Only Look Thin
at gmail.com.
And you can email us.
at
We Only Look Thin.
That's what I get for planning what I was going to say in advance. We got some great emails from listeners.
Yeah, we do answer. And if you would like to help us out at the cost of nothing but a moment of your time, you go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review us. Every 5-star rating really helps, and if you can, write even just a 1-sentence review, that super helps.
Yeah, and tell a friend. Tell a friend how funny and inspiring we are, and thank you so much for listening to us.
Yes, thank you very much. And the next time that you are putting your head right up against your listening device, thinking that you will suck in all of the knowledge right through the microphone, just remember that Catherine and I are an inspiration. The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.